Okay, and that's public going live. I think it's going to do it. It's thinking. The little blue line is starting to move across the page.
Yay!
Aha! Okay, so we are live, and we're talking about epigenetics, which is a very exciting subject area, and it's really very hopeful for us in menopause that might be, struggling and looking at our options of what we can do. So we're just going to introduce our authors here. If you guys want to talk just a little bit about yourself, I'm actually kind of curious, how did you guys meet and decide to start writing together?
Sure. So a dozen years ago, a mutual friend introduced us. We were both nutritionists. We had graduated from the same school, me just a decade before Alicia. And this friend brought Alicia over to my house one afternoon. We were just going to introduce, catch up a little bit. And what, Alicia, 4 hours later, maybe we were we just had hit on a passion for a number of things, working with children and teens, really helping get people healthier earlier on in their lives. We had a very similar approach to how we did nutrition in a holistic manner. I come from a social work background. Alicia, I'll let you explain in a minute, but much more scientific. And so between us, we kind of nailed all the body, mind, spirit capacity things of health and just started working together right then. Alicia, you want to add to that?
Yeah, that was a phenomenal day, actually. It was 4 to 5 hours. We lost track of time. And our friend, who is very chatty, she just sat there and looked at us. It was like ping pong. It was like we were just playing ping pong, looking at one and the other. And she even thought that meeting was amazing. I come from a biology background. I have a bachelor's and a master's in biology and a PhD in botany. That's what brought me to Canada. I'm originally from Mexico. That's why our books are bilingual, English, Spanish. And being a biologist in 2017, I think that's when the epigenetics word came up within the realm of supplements. So there was a company that said, oh, we have a platform where you can use your DNA data and you can input it and we'll give you, what your body needs.
Yeah.
So I thought it was fascinating. And I got the DNA of my whole family. My sister is also a biologist in Mexico, so we got the DNA of the whole family. And then there was a conference in Vancouver about epigenetics. And I told Brenda, we got to go here.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated. I was in so much awe with it. It was just, a beautiful world. Finally, taking 30 years of teaching higher education and putting it into a context. And for me, it's making it easier for women to understand it. It's not like people tell me, oh, how are you different from the people that do this or the other? And they're like, it's a little bit different. I will explain that actually in the conference coming up. But the interesting part of it all was that I came out of there fascinated, and Brenda came out of there was like, did you understand anything? Like Brenda was just blank because she's a social worker, right?
Yeah.
And so Brenda, tell them this your story after that conference.
Not completely blank. Okay, I had biology in university. You have to take biology and chemistry and organic chemistry to become a nutritionist. But I mean, it had been a long time since I'd looked at anything to do with genetics. And my only consolation was when I looked over at Alicia, master's, undergrad, PhDs in science, that she was also going, this is fascinating, but oh my goodness, it's been a while since I've studied this. So we embarked on this together. And also I bring the component of, okay, Alicia, we have to make that accessible to people like me who don't have degrees in science, So it's been a very good working relationship. Alicia had not done much writing, other obviously academic writing, okay? Yeah. And I've been a writer forever, articles and different kinds of things, and already a couple of books. So she dragged me into epigenetics, I dragged her into co-authoring. And it's a really fun thing because she gets all the science parts right. I go in and English, obviously, second language for her. I'll do some, fine tuning on grammar and different things. And then she comes back in for the final pass to make sure I haven't screwed up any of the science stuff when I've been editing. So it's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a ton of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I truly, just so that you know, Jessica, when Brenda asked me first, do you want to write a book? I said no. I said no. I'm not writing one book. I'm not. And now that not only we write, but I also translate. And when I translate, I go back to the English. I have to go back to the English version to see
Right.
how. So even when I
Yeah.
translate, I'm actually telling Brenda, doesn't this sound better in English? It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
So,
it's been really a very interesting way of expressing ourselves, of being able to have this handy and available for women who are interested and are tired of trying to look at how can I make menopause a natural, it's a natural progression in life. We're
mhm.
all gonna hit it, sooner or later. But it's a beautiful way of I feel feeling wiser. But there's many cultures, like in the book we mentioned our different cultures that just take that as, hey, menopause is you stop your periods. That's it. That's all that stopped, you know? And it's been amazing. Brenda is amazing. Like the way she pushes me, the way I push her, the way we encourage each other. Like it's been, even our husbands are jealous because we spend more time together than we spend with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great story. And I feel like I remember I mentioned this to you when we first met. And I said, I really need hope, right? There's so many of us going through it right now, and myself included, where some of my, long-term education goals, like I pretty much have decided that I don't think I'm going to end up going for more degrees, but my husband really thinks I'm going to end up going back to school and getting a PhD.
Yeah.
So it's great to hear that you guys connected later in life over an
Yeah.
amazing subject, and got really enthusiastic and learning and sharing what you've learned, because
Yeah.
that's really
Yeah.
important for me.
Yeah.
That's a huge value, and getting to help women to help themselves. That's really part of what my goal is, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
I have been really highly criticized this last week. I didn't reach out and talk to you guys, but I got called a racist, and I was accused of taking advantage of women who are suffering. Yeah,
Oh.
it was not pleasant, but there is a, this level of somewhat criticizing other women who are doing something that you don't quite understand or that makes you
Mhm.
uncomfortable. And I'm not choosing a side. I'm on purpose not aligning with the pharmaceutical or the
Yeah.
bioidentical or
Yeah.
the naturopath or the all natural
Mhm.
solutions,
Yeah.
because I think that each individual woman needs to find their own
Yeah.
pathway. So
Yeah.
how my role as an educator, I've been an educator since 2001, is presenting information to women so that they can then choose. And the interesting part is sometimes people come in and they're so sure that they're never going to, whatever it is, change their
Mhm.
diet, or they're never
Mhm.
going to start a prescription or whatever, and then they change their mind after being in the
Yeah.
group for a while and hearing from some of the women who've had some success,
Mhm.
and they, oh, well, you know what, maybe I will try. So that's part of, like, we're never going to become an echo chamber in the
Yeah.
CPMS group. That's just not
It's
going to
good.
happen.
It's good.
And I need to buy your book, because it didn't really it didn't really jump up at me about the translation and having the Spanish and the English. But my sister-in-law is from Mexico,
Oh.
and I know that she's, I mean, we don't talk about it a lot because we're family, and it's, whatever, we get together for
Yeah.
family dinner. Do we want to dominate that conversation with menopause? But I know that she would probably really appreciate having, I feel like a lot of the reason why we need to read books about menopause is to see ourselves in that
Yeah.
story,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then go from there. So what kind of stuff are you guys talking about in the conference? I'm excited to hear.
I think that one of the biggest things that we try to convey to people is exactly what you just said. Excuse me, that everyone is different, that everyone's genes are different. Obviously, no woman is biologically the same as anyone else. And even if you had an identical twin sister, the whole aspect of epigenetics over and above genetics is what the epi part means, is that the things you will have experienced in life, adverse childhood events, trauma in, high school, a poor relationship with somebody for a first marriage, for example. Conversely, really healthy family of origin with nourishing food. Each of those levels, and that's just a couple of them, are going to impact the way even you and your identical twin sisters biological expression of those genes. So when you can understand the impact that all those things have on you, I think one of the biggest takeaways that our clients have and the people that read our books is it's like kind of like an aha moment of, oh, okay, I might have this, for example, challenging set of estrogen genes or challenging set of detoxification genes or carbohydrate intake genes, whatever. But oh my goodness, for the first time in my life, I actually understand I can do something about that. Like I don't have to sit here and go, it's all in my genes. I'm going to end up with a really bad menopause or I'm going to end up with whatever. It's like, oh, oh man, alive. That opens up avenues. So like when you say, should I make a dietary change? Should I not use HRT or MRT? Should I or should I not do this type of exercise? It's no longer a guessing game. And you can choose or not choose to follow along with what your genes are giving you guidance on. And if you do, you almost always experience significant benefits. Is that one of the biggest things we try to take away, Alicia?
Yeah, yeah. And that we're all, as Brenda said, we're all unique, we're all different. But when you know your own road, when you know where to go and why you're different, makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Even it's funny enough, but even food or even, it's like the other day somebody was asking me, it's like, oh, I don't feel well when I eat broccoli. And I'm like, do you eat it raw or do you eat it cooked? And she basically said, oh, I eat it raw. I'm like, well, it depends on your genetics if you can eat it raw or not.
Yeah.
Like my daughter cannot eat raw at all. I'm okay with it. But we have different genetics, we have different genes. But knowing why is like, oh, now I get it. And same thing with just a supplement, like, oh, does that supplement contain raw broccoli? Then don't eat it if you can't. I'm okay with it, but my daughter isn't, like and knowing exactly who you are in a way that you've never seen yourself before.
Yeah.
Before the menopause book, I actually insisted that we should write an ADHD book.
Yeah.
And so we wrote now we have a series, Epigenetic Roadmap, and there will be more books coming up next year. We're really excited about that. But when we wrote the ADHD book, something that I realized is that I have ADHD, but and I'm one of the main characters in that book, and the other main character is Brenda's daughter, and we both have ADHD, but we have different genes, so our ADHD expresses in different ways.
Yeah.
And when we talk about epigenetics, we talk about changing the environment. So when you change the environment, but you change the environment according to what your genetics is telling you, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I started learning about epigenetics a while ago, but I felt really like there's this strange, well, it's not unusual at all. My mother was put up for adoption. So by the time she went and looked for her family, her parents were already deceased. And she met her full sisters that, in their later half of their life, right? So they're already quite, for them, elderly. Unfortunately, all of her sisters and my mother by 66 of a massive heart attack. And so I didn't really get interested in her journey to learn about her own biology because I had just had another baby. I had two children and I was busy breastfeeding, and I was like, it's great that you found your birth family and you get to go see your sisters. I didn't really think about it too much. But then later when I started asking questions, unfortunately, a lot of those questions can't be answered because
Right.
the sisters are all gone now too.
Yeah.
And our cousin, relationship is very, whatever. When you meet someone in your 40s and you find out, this is my cousin, you
Yeah.
don't really bond in the same way. So it's been a little bit frustrating for me to, there's a lot of questions that I just don't have answers. So are you saying that I have done the 23andMe, that in that chapter of, somehow with that mucky muck, that there are gems for me to help myself become the healthiest version that I can be?
Absolutely. That's
Right.
one of the two forms of raw DNA data that we are trained in using in our software and that we can use. And many people have 23andMe.
Yeah.
They got it to find a long lost relative,
Yeah.
an adoptive bio parents, that kind of thing. And they literally do not understand that word. I think you use gem like in there. Like,
Yeah.
you actually understand that you can download a raw DNA file that you will not understand when remotely what it is. It's a series of RS numbers, but we know what to do with that. And we can run that through software. We can find out things like metabolism, how you burn your fuel and whether you are designed for higher protein or lower saturated fat or how many carbohydrates in a day. We can literally give you guidance around whether you're better off on intermittent fasting or 3 meals a day. So it's and a longer feeding window. Like we are that wired. And it's funny because long before we had our DNA done, Alicia and I used to travel for business together. And I'd be up working out on an empty stomach and then ready to go till noon. And she's like, Brenda, if we don't get some like eggs and meat like right now, I'm gonna die, And I would just be like, what's your problem, lady? And she's meanwhile going, that's not very healthy not to have breakfast. We're nutritionists. And then we do our DNA and we just are like laughing like crazy because she is wired for 3 meals, 5 to 6 hours in between. I'm like 8 hour feeding window, 2 meals and a snack. And we just went, oh, that explains it.
Yeah, and that would explain why I get such strange feedback from ladies who try intermittent fasting,
Yeah.
where some of them are like, I must be doing it wrong because it's not working for me. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, that's probably means it's just not for you. I
Yeah.
don't think that there is like a one size fits all. And that's why we fight so much in the menopause space, because women really want the one size fits all. And I
Right.
bet that must be really exciting for you guys, as with that nutritionist background, to be
Right.
able to bring in that information to really help someone dial in what and how and when they're eating.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're just kind of guessing, well, let's try this and see how you
Yeah.
feel, and then we'll go based on that. That's really exciting. And I also wanted to mention, I have twins in my family, my brother's
Oh.
daughters, and they're identical. So when they were little, you really had to pay attention. It's in their eyes. Their eyes are just a
Oh.
slightly different, so you can tell one has a fleck. So, oh, that
Ah.
one's
Wow.
Kelly. And as they've aged now, they just turned 41. Now you can really tell them apart,
Yeah.
because they have some distinct changes as they've grown and matured,
Mhm.
right? But
Yeah.
the twin wiring is amazing. Like when they get together, they just sync up. So it made me think of you guys, because both of their husbands are, it's not that they don't love the twin, right?
No.
That's the twin. They love them, but they both kind of feel like they can't get in there. And now I understand why, because I watched them this summer, and as soon as they got together, they're like finishing each other's sentences, handing
Yeah.
each other a cigarette without even talking, handing the kid to the other person without even saying a word. Like they just
Yeah.
anticipate, they know exactly what's
Mhm.
going on, but they have changed and aged differently. So that
Yeah.
would be really interesting to, like the twin study. Maybe they'll jump on board
Yeah.
at some point and
Yeah.
do a twin study of genetics as
Yeah.
they go through their 40s into their 50s, and see
Yeah.
how their menopause goes. I tried not to scare them with horror stories of menopause, right? Because it is, I feel like one of the reasons it's so disturbing for North American women is that we don't have that. I'm stepping into my wisdom.
Yeah.
I'm leaving behind my prior identity, and I'm
Yeah.
going through these changes, and part of this dark night, and the
Yeah.
depression or mood or anxiety,
Mhm.
the things that come up, that make you really question. Like, I hear this all the time from women. I can't control my weight. I can't control my
Yeah.
body the way
Yeah.
that I used to, and it's really, really frustrating for them. But part of it is I look at it like I'm trying to not control my body. I'm trying to keep my body healthy with what I'm eating and
Mm,
how I'm moving and exercising. And
yeah,
I'm a yoga therapist, so I look at everything from a
mm,
really holistic
yeah,
lens. And yoga is a science, which is interesting that people just think it's an exercise.
no.
But we're all kind of moving towards that. Hopefully, I would like women to be moving towards the goal of optimal health and learning
Yeah.
about themselves through this transition and stepping into that wisdom side of things. So give us some hope about some of the neat stuff you've done since you guys are both through your menopause and you've learned all these things about how you're wired and what you can do to help yourself.
Well,
Let's go
I
ahead.
think for well, a really big eye opener, and whoever gets the book, actually, there is a chapter on HRT, on hormone replacement therapy, and why and or why not to, am I a good candidate for it or am
Yeah.
I not? Like when you, like as I mentioned before, when you know your map, you'll be able to understand yourself. It's like, oh, maybe I am a good candidate, or maybe, oh, maybe I'm not. But what else can I do? It's not like, oh, like it's not just like, oh, you're not a good candidate for HRT, but I'm suffering. I just have so many, hot flashes. I don't sleep at night. As you said, I cannot lose the weight, whatever it happens, maybe you had an early menopause, which is becoming fairly
Mhm.
common. So we do have a chapter on HRT, but before we get into HRT, one of the chapters is hormones, your reproductive hormones. And for you to understand your hormones at a genetic level is very important. And this is just a little preview for the book because not we don't all metabolize estrogen to a healthy estrogen, a protective estrogen. We might metabolize it to one that's non-protective. So, and where is this? We always talk about estrogen, but there's many other hormones out there. There's
Mhm.
testosterone, there's progesterone, there's even cortisol, and how they are all interrelated with each other. And so we dig deep into the hormones. That chapter 9 and 10. But that takes us back to where I told Brenda, don't put too much on chapter 2. I'll let her talk about it. But it's very important because the first step is always what's happening in your environment. Is there estrogen coming from the environment itself? Is there more estrogen? And so Brenda dig deeper into chapter 2, which talks about one of her, we call them core steps. So first core step, eat.
Mhm.
And I'll let Brenda talk about that because she really dig deep into it because there's a really important interrelationship in what you do every single day
Yeah.
to be able to get your genes to express in a better way.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
Brenda, I'll let you talk about that chapter.
sure,
You were
sure. Yeah. Yeah. She's just like, you cannot write that much on eating, Brenda. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to write this much on eating because we do it every day. We love doing it and we need to figure out how to do it. So realistically, we go back right basic, the fact that, you're making your hormones. Like we need amino acids that come in protein that are then, I mean, people say, well, what exactly are genes? We're like, well, they're like, there are proteins. They're doing things like helping transport things. They are creating things. They are creating the little receptors for things to bind onto. Like they have a massive role through our body everywhere. So if we can get our foundational food intake down properly, then there's going to be this massive domino effect, almost like dominoes going up, instead of going down. And so we look at that. We also look at the role of saturated fat. Saturated fat is used to make cholesterol, and people are like, run away, run away. We don't want cholesterol. And Alicia just chimes in and goes, do you understand? All your sex hormones are made foundationally coming from cholesterol. And then, so we really nail down what can we do each day to eat that you use the word optimal health to what's my optimal diet. Like I'm not going to always do it. I mean, I'm in Tofino right now with the weekend with our kids and a family and whatever. And do I have more sugar than I usually eat? Yes, and that kind of thing. We'll have celebration foods, sometimes foods, but you want to know what your optimal intake is So, kind of 80-20, at least 80% of the time, you're kind of nailing that and you're not nailing it because two nutritionists told you to smarten up and do this. You're nailing it because your body went, oh, I love it when you do this. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you just start sleeping better, having more energy for your movement, your brain fog starts clearing. So those are all of the first parts, but I'm going to link into my second favorite chapter. If we call them favorites, but then we teach and we go, oh no, that's really my favorite. Oh, that's my favorite, But the one on calm, which is another one of our core steps, ties massively into my social work background because a lot of the challenges that women experience in menopause are related to neurotransmitters. Okay. It's often, and I see it in your group, and I'm in there, reading through. People are like, I can't believe I just got diagnosed with ADHD. Yeah, because it's not like you just got ADHD when you
Yeah.
became menopausal or perimenopausal, but it's become much more obvious because of some of the shifting in the hormones, for example, and your body can no longer tolerate the amount of cortisol that you're producing and that's stealing from your progesterone, et cetera, et cetera. So when you understand both diet and then you also understand neurotransmitters, you can start to see, for example, there's one gene that we'll probably cover in the, well, we will, because it's one of our favorite genes. It's called FKBP5, and it has a lot to do with whether or not you get stuck in fight or flight mode, or whether you easily can transition to parasympathetic rest and recuperate. And when Alicia and I talk genes, we talk like a traffic light. They're either red, more challenging results of them, yellow, kind of like cautionary, green, usually more beneficial results. No moral coding on your genes. They got you where you are. They're great, okay, but they may have some outcomes that you want to tackle. And when you have a red FKBP5 like me, you spend your life trying to meditate, do yoga, centered prayer, walk in nature, everything you can.
Yeah.
And then you'll get this brief flurry of time in a parasympathetic mode. And you're like, oh, hallelujah. And then bam, you sneeze and you're back in sympathetic fight or flight, freeze, fawn. And understanding that has been one of the biggest tools for us personally, but also with our clients, because then the brain scatteredness, the anxiety, it just begins to diminish. And you're like, oh my goodness, like I can get up in the morning like this. And for some women, it's the first time in their life. Like they come for menopause help, but they get help that is, way beyond all of that because other things start landing for them too. So
Yeah, it makes sense to me because I kind of look at it like your cup is too full already, right? You have too
yeah.
much cortisol. And for me, I have too much estrogen, not enough progesterone, which, contributed to the endometriosis that I've probably had for my whole life, but it was asymptomatic to become like a big problem during, my perimenopause journey, which has not ended. When I'm 55, I'd really like to be done. But that's different too, even like that I want it to be done, that I'm looking forward to the postmenopausal stepping into my wisdom for real and letting go of some of the disruptions of the illness part of it as that starts to resolve, because that is what is happening.
Good.
And it's very interesting. I'm also probably one of those people, not that I'm stuck in fight or flight, but especially I've noticed during perimenopause, I can go there much more quickly. And I've been working with meditation and yoga for like almost 30 years. So I have pretty good skills as far as like,
Yeah.
I notice right away when things are going wrong, and
Yeah.
I'm self-employed, so I can take the time that I need to get back down into a calmer
Yeah.
baseline. And I know what to do, that the things that work for me
Yeah.
to get me there. And so it's a lot of experimenting. I really love how you guys are all about, I've been saying lately, it's like you got to grab that bull by the horns and say, okay, this is my life. This is my journey. How do I want it to look? What am I prepared to do? And then pick something and try it. Like don't just lay down and go, okay, this is it, my life is over, and be just sad. Like we talked a little bit about complaining in the group, and we have a fair amount of complaining in the group, and that's
Yeah.
fine. People do
Yeah.
need to talk about problems
Event. Yeah.
and to vent and have other women say, yes, I understand that. But I'm always the annoying one that's like, okay, so I have a class for that, or I have this video you can watch, or I have this handout, or I have, you know what I mean? Like, let's take that, the fire of suffering, right? Fire is motivating. It's going to make you move. It's going to make you do things. Suffering can be a fuel to bring you into more of a healthy place because you don't want to stay there.
Yeah.
What can I do to get out of that? So I'm excited that you guys are coming, and I'm really looking forward to it. So how can we get the book if we want to get the book, if we're really curious and want to know what's going on?
Well, you might notice a lot of books behind me because there's actually two books. Okay, there is the book, which is Epigenetic Roadmap to Menopause Health in English, but it comes with a manual. Why a manual? Because the manual allows you to actually put it into action. It's for me, learning after teaching so many years, it's like if you don't put it into action, you will never get it. You need to implement it. So that's why there's two books, and they're both in Spanish as well. That's why there's so many books. Like I Brenda, the day we launched the book, is like we did launch one, not two, not three, but four. Like it's really interesting, and you can buy them in Amazon. You can find it in Amazon fairly easily. And actually, just to give you a little bit of a secret or a preview, the manual is actually for free right now as a Kindle, so you can take a look at it. Just even look at it and see if it's something.
Is it for free right now? Did Amazon do it? Because I didn't do it.
I think it's for free now, or it's coming. I don't know.
If it's not, it's coming. If it's not, we
coming about a
might
week.
time it for the conference, actually.
Yeah, I mean that would be amazing if you could time for the conference, because I think a lot of women are like, what I hear is the reason they're annoyed with me is because they're tired of being sold to. But I'm like, well, I'm not in there selling it to you because that's my main motivation. My main motivation is to help other women. And then because I'm an educator, I kept seeing the same problems again and again and again. So I started designing classes, courses, workshops, and I'm writing a book myself to address those things that I see again and again as the biggest main issues. And it's an offering, right? You take it or leave it.
Yeah.
But if they can have a look at it in the Kindle option, that makes it a lot easier for people to see, like, is there something for me, and is how doable is this manual? Because I've had a few people now kind of do the list, right? So I'm going to change how I'm eating. I'm going to start working out. I'm going to get a personal trainer. and then they add all these things up, and it's like 6 hours a day if you're going to do all of those things, which is a really, really huge ask. So one of the things that I'm always saying is, like, pick one thing. Like I'm gonna try some different recipes. I'm gonna add in some vegetarian or some vegan foods and see how I feel eating that, and I'm just going to experiment with that, like one thing. And then when you do that, then you can say, oh, I'm really enjoying this, eating vegetarian a couple times a week. Maybe next time I'm going to look into adding something else, and then you pick something else. I'm going to join the gym and go and check it out. I'm just going to go and do, like, almost every gym has like a free week or month or whatever, right? Go and try a class. I tried a Zumba class at 45, so it's been 10 years. This is probably my 10-year anniversary of being, working out with a trainer. And right away the advice was hire a trainer, because I have no exercise experience in my background. I would joke that, for my family, exercise was running to catch the bus. We walked everywhere. So it's definitely a change, but doing it with guidance, having people helping you, and then choosing one thing at a time, like a manual, sounds much more less overwhelming, because I think that's a big problem for us, where we just see all of these possibilities and get completely overwhelmed. So it's nice to have, like, as you were talking about, I think you call it the core principles or core steps.
Yeah. I want to tag on a couple of things you said, Jessica. One is that you talked about the suffering component that sometimes can be a part. Brene Brown interviewed a Franciscan priest a number of years ago. His name is Father Richard Rohr. And he has mentioned, and I've started getting a lot of his writing and stuff, and he mentioned that the two things that move us forward in life are great love So we fall in love with somebody or a child or a pet or whatever, or great suffering. And I just go, okay, I'm gonna pray. I fall forward with great love and not great suffering. But that is true. Like that's a huge motivator. And the second thing to tag team on what you said was that keeping things small. We're huge fans of James Clear's, Atomic Habits type of approach. And in our books and material, we talk about things that are small, like one step, that are simple. It takes 2 to 5 minutes, that are sustainable. Okay. And I'm completely forgetting the fourth one right now. It's early here. Okay.
Yay!
Yeah. But yeah, that's the thing that we really believe in and we through our writing. And you asked earlier, like, um, to give some hope. Like I am not young, okay? Like I will be 70 next year. And it's like I have so much on the go. I have 7 grandkids. I watch after one or two of them one day a week. I'm on the floor crawling around. We just did a big hikes yesterday. We're here to cheer on 3 of our kids that are running at a half marathon and a 10K race here. And so we're watching grandkids while our kids are running in these races. And then I'll go home and I've got a big work schedule. Alicia and I have a bunch of stuff to do this week. And I love my life. Like I have the energy for that. Alicia and I joke that we are fortunate in that we reset our genes accidentally. So, when I was a 6'6" social worker and I worked with a very woo-woo holistic, herbalist that literally saved my life, I reset a lot of these genes that, we didn't even have the language, they hadn't been mapped yet. And likewise with Alicia, like we really sailed through perimenopause and menopause. And I don't say that to brag and, oh, but it like the potential is there that this season of your life can be really quite good. And you adjust with different things, but the potential is there to have a good perimenopause and menopause and postmenopause. So that's our hope for women. Yeah.
Yeah, and we need to hear that. Like we need to hear, oh, you know what? I'm almost 70 and I'm on the floor and I'm going hiking and I'm loving my life, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's one of most of my friends now are in that knee deep in peri or starting the end of
Yeah.
it. And they're maybe not so fond of some of the changes that have happened to
Mhm.
their body or to their lives.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
they're not really loving the experience of aging because we're really just in general told that life is over once
Yeah.
you're done.
Yeah.
And so we really need to have those great examples. So I'm super, super glad that you're coming. Is there anything else you want to tell people?
Alicia?
Well, I just want to tell people, as you said, that this conference, the work you're doing is pretty
Mm.
brilliant.
Yeah. Thank you.
That thank you very, very much for inviting us, actually.
Mm.
And just tell people that there is hope.
Mhm.
And you don't have to be in the suffering side of things. You know, there's a way out, but something that I always tell people that work with me is the only person in charge of your health and your life is you.
Mhm.
So you are the person that needs to work on yourself before you can, like Brenda, go on the floor and play with the grandkids,
Mhm.
right? It's important that you take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we all need to hear that more as women, that it's okay setting boundaries and having the
Mhm.
priority of our own health and
Yeah.
wellness is what's best for our whole family, even if they don't really love hearing, no, I'm not going to make dinner today. Like I told you last week, it's your turn.
Yeah.
And so there's been a lot of great changes I find for women once they kind of embrace that this
Yeah.
is their journey and they really want to take charge. Okay, so I'm gonna hang up, and this is the only way that I know how to stop the live is to actually end the meeting. So it's gonna seem a little bit abrupt, but I am
Okay.
here for you. And if you have
Mm.
questions or if anybody asks me, sometimes people will be like, "Oh, could you ask them to talk about this or that?"
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I'll pass that on to you. And then in the actual conference, it's very similar to this, where we'll just get together and then
Mhm.
we talk a little bit. But instead of you presenting to nobody, I'll stay live on the call so that you
Okay.
can They'll see me, and then I'm monitoring the chat. So if stuff comes in that's really important or relevant, I might pop in and say, "Oh, could
Perfect.
you say more about this?" Or we have a question about that,
Sure.
that kind of thing. So I'm super excited and grateful. And I also wanted to say, when I grew up, I was born 1970. There weren't really women in science, like
Mhm.
there weren't women to look up to.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that you guys are doing this, and I think you're setting a really good example for
Mm-mm.
all of us coming up
Thank
behind,
you.
right? That we are
Thank
smart
you.
enough, that we can understand science,
Yeah.
and that we can use
Yeah.
it to our benefit, and
Yeah.
that it's there for everybody. All right,
Okay.
ladies, I'm going to hang up now, and
Okay.
I will
Have a
talk
great
to you
day.
soon. Have a
Yeah.
wonderful day. Good luck to your kids on the marathon. Thanks for coming,
Thank
Alicia.
you.
Have a
Okay.
great time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.